Are back, and of course CFL is on the minds this week. We got the semifinals set up. Hamilton, Montreal, Saskatchewan, BC. Guys, take it away. Who do you think you got in those series, and perhaps maybe going to the Grey Cup?
Well, I like Hamilton against Montreal. I've liked Hamilton all year. I just, I know they've been competing against Toronto for first spot off and on, but on paper I thought they were one of the best teams in the East, and just didn't seem to be able to put it all together when they needed to. But I think they'll take out Montreal and end up against Toronto in the final, and I think the Riders can take BC because obviously the conditions in Regina will be more conducive to the Riders than BC because they're not used to that, and I think if they keep it all together, they'll handle BC.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was a poll on CFL.com. The poll was, what quarterback do you feel most comfortable with heading into the playoffs? If you had a team, what quarterback would you want as your quarterback? You know who was at the bottom of the list? Darren Durant, the last quarterback anybody picked. I don't know what this guy has to do to prove that he's an elite quarterback, but I like the Riders against BC, even though BC's defense scares me, and the Riders' offense, hasn't been firing quite like it should, but at the same time, their defense is lights out. And
at the right time.
When it gets cold, this time of the year, your defense wins games and could win you a championship. So I say the Riders against BC. Riders will take it. And I'm thinking Montreal may knock off Hamilton because of Montreal's defense, and they can cause havoc for Henry.
Okay, then you got Calgary, Saskatchewan in this case, when you both would agree. Then you'd have Toronto, and you say Hamilton, you say Montreal. But out of those four teams, then, who goes to the Grey Cup?
Well, I think it's going to be a repeat from last year myself. I think it'll be Calgary and Toronto in the Grey Cup again. But, time will tell. Anything can happen in the finals, right? But Calgary's just seemed to be, too strong in all the areas you need to be strong in. And whether it's BC or Saskatchewan that ends up against them, I don't think either one has the horses to outmaneuver Calgary. And I think Toronto, it was the same thing with Toronto and whoever comes out of the East.
Yeah, going up against Ricky Ray in the East, it's going to be tough. Whether it is Hamilton, whether it is Montreal, Toronto's very strong. And if it's going to be the Riders and the Stamps, I love to, with my heart, I would like to say the Riders win, but the Stampeders are very, very strong. And beating the Stamps at home, that's going to be a tough order.
All right, talking about tough order, try facing Ray Emery when he's coming down 200 feet. Right to you. Braden Holtby definitely knows that feeling now. But I know a lot of people are angry at Ray Emery. There is no rule in the NHL, of course, with the exception of getting a misconduct and a minor for crossing the red line. So aside from that and the 29 penalty minutes he received, nothing you can do. But I say blame should go to the linesmen and the referees for not trying to help out Holtby, especially when you saw Emery charge down, grab him, he's on his knees, and you still saw Emery still feeding him shots. Guys, do you agree with what I say, or do you feel Emery is still responsible and to blame? Because I see a lot of hate towards Ray Emery.
I agree with you to a point. I think the linesman should have been there, well, especially since Ray Emery has come out and said that Holtby wanted nothing to do with fighting him. And let's face it, Ray Emery, everybody knows the league. He's got boxing training, and so he can throw the dukes as well as anybody. And I don't think Braden had too much boxing training playing in Saskatoon. So anyway, that's kind of a mismatch. But the linesman should have been in there to, I think, to break that up for sure. It was not something that needed to happen. I understand when there's a line brawl, they're kind of busy on the ice with everybody else. But you got to put some blame on Ray Emery too. I don't think that needed to happen. A line brawl is a line brawl.
He needed to spark his team.
Yeah.
His team was getting killed 7-0. The fans were angry. You know how Philadelphia can get.
Yeah,
we all
sure.
know how rough they could be
Sure,
from the Eagles fan standpoint, Flyer fans, you name it. So it makes sense, right?
I have a big problem with this because there wasn't really a line brawl going on. There was one fight at that time. Emery goes all the way down the length of the ice to go against Holtby, and he knows Holtby. Like, come on, these guys know each other off the ice. They know Holtby doesn't want to scrap. He doesn't want to fight. The goalie's fighting your knuckles. And if you break your knuckles, if you hurt your hand, jam your finger, you could twist a knee. Yeah. What happens if Holtby twists his knee in that and he's out for 8 weeks? And what does Emery get? He gets a slap in the hand, gets kicked out of the game and gets third star in Philadelphia.
And gets a shutout the next
And
night.
here's the National Hockey League that wants to come down, oh, we got to stop fighting, we got to stop fighting. He doesn't get anything. David Clarkson comes off the bench, skates 5 feet, gets 10 games.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like the NHL had completely dropped the ball on this. They'll bring it up at the governor's meeting by then, though this is too late. And this kind of circus act in Philadelphia had to stop.
Well, you know what? Maybe in the bright side, this is one of the things that there are little loopholes that they try to close up, and maybe this is one of them. If a goalie does this next time, there'll be a severe punishment. Bears, Packers. You had the Bears winning, now tying the Packers at 5-3. Guys, you saw Aaron Rodgers go down. They don't know the severity of his injury just yet, but who is more valuable to his team? I know Jake Cutler's coming back Sunday. Josh McNown looked very good. But the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, are they in jeopardy of actually missing out on the playoffs or not doing well compared to, say, Jay Cutler?
That's tough on the Packers because they need Aaron Rodgers, and I read this morning that they figure it's a fractured collarbone, so they're not sure yet. If that's the case, he's going to be out a while, and they're in trouble without him. That's their their whole spark plug of their offense. And but Chicago, good old Mark Trestman pulls a rabbit out of the bag, right? Has this backup quarterback nobody's heard of and goes out and beats the Packers. And McCown played awesome last night, and he did everything right. And I was going to say Chicago is nowhere near as dangerous without Jay Cutler, but after seeing that game last night, I'd say Chicago's got a good chance of doing something.
Yeah, I know.
Good coaching, right?
As being a football coach, you kind of coordinate your offensive plays to the skill set you have.
Yeah.
And that's what they did in Chicago, and that's the reason why they won. Now, with Rodgers out of the lineup, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You just don't replace him with anybody. That's really going to hurt the Packers. As long as he's out, the chances of Green Bay making the playoffs gets a little slight.
All right, when we return, we're going to have over-under coming up.